Go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the More You Noble Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is September the 19th, and the Cardinals are 8 games up. Check the phone this time, just to make sure. 8 games up on the Milwaukee Brewers with 14 to go. Today, we are joined once again from a jail cell in Champaign, Illinois at the House of Pain by Caleb. Caleb, how you doing?
Good. Can't complain.
Glad to hear. And fresh off the trip to Camp Randall with a little jumping around with about 60,000 of his best friends and the Grateful Red. Friend of the show, our only national champion we've ever had on here, Mike Godar. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? Good to be here. My knees are a little sore, but we're good to go.
I watched the vid. It looked like you guys had a hell of a time up there.
It was worth it. Completely worth it, for sure.
Did you just go up just to experience that, or it's like your son or brother a Wisconsin fan?
100% just to jump around. That was it. And
Awesome.
you should have seen me explaining that to my dad. 68-year-old, and hey, Dad, we're going to the Wisconsin game. Yeah, what for? Well, we just want to. They play jump around at the end of the third quarter, and the whole stadium jumps up and down. So you're driving all the way to Wisconsin to jump up and down. Yep, that's pretty much it. Doesn't that sound like fun?
No, to watch other people do it too.
This is beautiful.
It is. It's amazing. It's a fun town. I mean, just on the walk from the car to the stadium, just all the tailgating, the whole town turns upside down. It's a lot of fun. It was a neat time.
That's awesome. We just got back actually today. We were in Louisville for 4 days for a music festival, but Friday night, so you got the music festival. There was a running at Churchill Downs this weekend. There was another bourbon festival, but Friday night, Florida State was in town to play Louisville. And where we stayed, like if you looked out our window, you could see the football stadium. So we drove through the campus. That place is freaking amazing too. I'd never been to the University of Louisville. It is beautiful. Everything is set up right. I mean, you can just tell when you go to one of these big schools. And Caleb, obviously, you're at U of I. It's the same way. Like these guys just get it and they do everything the right way.
Yeah. The big campuses are the way to go, in my opinion, if you're willing to spend the money.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience.
And you've got
sure.
the old you got Chattanooga in town on Thursday night for a night game.
I get free tickets, I think.
Well, I would probably hop on that.
I tried.
Absolutely.
It got messed up somehow, but I'm gonna try to do it again today.
All right, good. And Mike, Syracuse 3-0 in football. Is Donovan McNabb back?
It's pretty amazing. You have to give a little bit of a shout out to the Purdue coach for being so bad to get him that third win. He's botched 2 of their 3 games already this year. So shout out to Jeff Brown.
He botched one of them with Drew Brees in the building.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was some of the. I'll tell you, just in general, watching football these first 3-4 weeks now, the clock management across the board, college, NFL, it is so bad. I just don't understand how you can get to that level and be that bad.
And here's the thing, I'm going to be honest, like we were gone all day Saturday. So when I got home, we got home late. I watched just kind of the highlights. I flipped it on, and USC happened to be at the end of that game. So I just kind of watched some of the highlights there. And then Sunday we went to get a restaurant to get lunch, and they were watching the game. Not only is the time management bad, but Caleb and I have people kind of make fun of us, I think, for calling out MLB umps all the time. NFL refs that hold my beer because, wow.
They were so bad yesterday in that Saints game. It was like so bad that even Greg Olson was calling them out on there.
Yeah,
I thought it was just me, and then he started saying it. I was like, okay, it's not just me. Like that was horrible. That's a guy that doesn't have any link to the Saints or the Buccaneers, so he's not biased at all. They were horrible for one side the whole time too. I didn't see one call against the Tampa Bay where anyone questioned it.
And also, to be fair, Olsen, Carolina guy, like he hates them both.
Tom Brady, dude. How does he get away with everything?
He does get the calls.
Why did Marshawn Lattimore get kicked out of the game?
I'm sure it's because of the head first thing, I assume, but still.
All Marshawn Lattimore did was get pushed by Leonard Fournette, push him back, and then get tackled by Mike Evans, and then get up and not just take it. That's all he did. But Tom Brady was involved, so the other guy had to be fucking ejected.
It was bad, and trust me, as somebody that had some cash on the Saints, I was equally as disappointed as you, but probably probably more disappointed in Jameis Winston's performance than the refs myself, but that's
So
that's a story for another day.
he's playing with multiple broken like fractures in his back. Like I
Yeah.
respect it, but if you're gonna suck, don't play, please.
Right. Yeah. At some point, you're not doing the team any good.
And you
Like,
got
he made
Andy
some
Dalton
throws.
on the sideline. Let's go ahead and put Andy
How
Dalton.
many times was Olave wide open deep? I know he fumbled that last one, which he didn't fumble, by the way. But I know other than that, like he was open 5 times. He beat the cornerback up top, and Winston missed him by 15 yards deep each time. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was bad.
Whatever.
It was bad.
I mean, no,
Well, now we got the
neither team
NFL
deserved to win
football
that
out of the
game.
way.
Well, neither team deserved to win that game. So whatever, they lost. They deserved it.
Yeah. Tonight, just last NFL thing. Your Titans go tonight against the old circle the wagon Buffalo Bills.
Going to be a tough one. I don't really see a path for the Titans to win the game, but this has been the Titans' MO since they've been the Titans. They seem to win a lot of games that they have no business winning, and they lose a lot of games they have no business losing. So I guess that's about all I have to hope for, is just say that it's some fluke of nature is going to happen.
Are they in Buffalo? Is it in Buffalo?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Otherwise, you'd be there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. And then the Vikings-Eagles late the other game. Weird to have 2 games on week 2.
Yeah, they've usually done it on opening weekend every year, and they usually do them 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Tonight, random week 2, 6:15 and 7:30 starts. Not sure what the reasoning is for that.
Any idea what the Manning cast, which game the Manning cast is doing? That's my favorite.
I'm not sure. I do enjoy watching them, though.
I hope they do both.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah. Could you imagine Peyton's ADD trying to do both of them?
You see him call like 87 timeouts in like 10 seconds on the on the
Speaking of
Broncos
clock
game.
management, my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know
He
how
managed
they
the clock how he wanted. He was just too stupid to know how to do it the right way. Like, what
Also,
was that? I don't understand.
I know we're wanting to get to September baseball, but is Russell Wilson done?
No, he's
He's
not done.
MVP
They
of the
moved the
league.
ball. They moved the ball. They just, again, it's, someone smarter than me needs to explain going shotgun from the 1 yard line, because I know there's got to be some good reason for it because teams do it all the time now. But for the life of me, I don't understand what that reason would be.
I think
last week they ran shotgun. They ran a ball up the middle in the shotgun on the 1 yard line and then threw it twice and then it scored a touchdown.
Well, I think also part of it is there outside of use check, there are no fullbacks anymore, it seems like.
Right.
Back in the day, it was line up in 2 tight, fullback, or 3 tight, fullback, then you're giving the ball. We know the tailback's getting it, but you get 10 blockers, 9 blockers in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot easier, even if you don't have a fullback. I'm surely you can throw a third string tight end in there at fullback, or a defensive lineman, somebody. But it makes it so much easier to run play action when you're lined up tight like that. You can sneak people out into the flat where you get the wide open touchdown when everybody bites on the run. You just don't get that with the shotgun. Yeah,
also,
you fake.
Agreed. I agree 100%.
I also feel like when you're with Russell Wilson, give him a few weeks. He's in a new system. Like he has to have a grace period, and they won. So he's 1-1. It's not like they're pathetic.
To camp in his own jersey. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Well, he's a weird person. We know that. That's already been established.
That is confidence. But all right, okay.
He's earned it. He's a Hall of Famer.
We gotta get to the Cardinals. All right. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna kind of chime in here since I was gone for like 4 of the 7 days. I mean, 4-3. Caleb and I said last week. You said 5-2. K. I said I'd be happy with 4-3, and people didn't love that I said 4-3. But at this point in time, again, it's winning series. You go 1-1 versus Milwaukee, and you beat Corbin Burns for the first time in what feels like have we ever beaten Corbin Burns before? Doesn't feel like
last year we beat him. That's because Jack was shut out.
And then you you got the weird 5-game set with Cincinnati, and I know you don't score a lot of runs here at the end. We're going to talk about the offense in a little bit, but you take 3 of 5. I mean, you went 4-3. You could say, well, the Reds suck, and I understand that, but you're still winning series.
You won a game. You won the series against Cincinnati because they hit Andrew Kisner in the elbow with a ball. I mean, yeah, I couldn't care less about wins and losses. The division's over. I care about how the team looks. Because if the team looks like this going into the playoffs, they're not winning anything. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to. I don't believe they will. But that's what I care more about is how the team's looking and how people are hitting. But if Goldie is just going to go 0 for 4 every game, like he needs to pick it up. I know he's going to be the MVP of the league, but right now it's crunch time. I'd rather him struggle in August. Like he looks really bad. Lars Nootbaar, Corey Dickerson have cooled off tremendously. Tommy Edmonds has been like the offense lately. Like can't happen. And Tyler's hurt.
I'm going to look at the bright side here. So I'm going to say that this is a well-timed cooling off period. Obviously, what they did for most of August and early September isn't sustainable, right? So you probably can't do that for 2.5 straight months right into the playoffs. So it's nice to get that out of the way now. Hopefully they can pick it back up here in the last couple of weeks, get hot going into the playoffs. And 2, we don't want to catch the Mets. So that the occasional losses here and there are not hurting the overall cause, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Why
you
don't we
know,
want to catch the
originally,
Mets? Hold on. Why don't we want to catch the Mets?
Well, I don't want to be facing the Dodgers early on. Do you?
Well, if you catch the Mets, you get a bye and then face whoever wins the series we're going to be playing. If we don't catch them,
Okay.
so you
I
want to
was
face the
thinking that
Dodgers until the second round, no matter what, really, for the Cardinals.
Oh, okay. So for some reason, I was thinking the Mets had to play the Dodgers.
No, if the Mets win a
sooner
division
than-
and get the 2 seed, they'll play the winner of the Cardinals and the Phillies as it stands right now.
Okay.
And then the
the
Dodgers somehow would get the Braves. I don't know how that would work out, but
Right. Yeah. I'm on board with not having to face the Dodgers and the Braves until the end.
I think the way
Agreed.
the NL sets up right now, you can't fake your way through it. You're gonna either you have to go through a gauntlet or you're gonna lose. Like that's just the way it is. There's 4 teams. I'm including the Cardinals in this because I think they're really good. There's 4 really good like juggernaut type teams in the National League, and if you're gonna come out of that thing, you're gonna be battle tested for the World Series. I can tell you that much.
No question.
As someone again who didn't get to see really in actually none of the Cincinnati series, where do we stand on Tyler, DC, and Gorman? What is happening there?
Tyler's hurt.
Okay,
So
what is
aside.
you texted me? I was in the middle of 50,000 people. I couldn't respond, and then I forgot to look it up. Do we know what is the severity? Do we know any timeline there?
It's a grade 1 hamstring strain.
Oh, geez.
I'm gonna assume it's very similar to. I think he'll be back. Now, will he be back and get his timing back and be Tyler O'Neill? Probably not. So I don't know where you stand with him. DC needs to be playing every day if Tyler's going to be hurt because you need a center fielder that can play center field. If he bats 230 versus righties, okay, he's going to save you runs, in my opinion. And who was the other person? Gorman. He just can't hit right now. Like he's really bad right now. I'm a big Gorman fan, but I don't even know if you can play him anymore.
He's struggling bad.
He doesn't even hit the ball.
Let me ask you this. I have been in many Twitter discussions, probably, maybe you could say arguments, but they're not. They're just discussions with people who had said a month ago, send Gorman down. I was not in that camp, right? I was in that at the time he was 4th on the team in OPS. It was he needs to play, but then the Albert run started. And I'm not saying you sit Albert. So this isn't an Albert versus Gorman thing. I'm not trying to argue that. But Gorman did sit 5 out of 6 games, essentially 5 out of 7 games. So at that point in time, is it sort of like, is the question fair to be asked? Maybe he should have been sent down to Memphis to play every day as a 22-year-old rather than watch his confidence. I understand. We all know, all 3 of us play baseball. We know that, it's a hard freaking game. Like we know that. But is at a 22-year-old, would he have been better suited instead of just watching from the dugout to be in Memphis playing? I'm just asking. I honestly, I've been the one who said no early on. But now hindsight, which again is always undefeated, I don't know. What's the answer, sir?
I don't think he learns anything he hasn't already learned from AAA. He needs to get ready for being an everyday second baseman or DH next year. So no. Okay. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he doesn't have anything left to prove in AAA. So he had pretty well conquered the minor league system. So I think his best experience is going to be, and honestly, all young players need to experience the failure and the struggles in order to get better for the long term. So he as bad as it is, he needs this. It's hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah, right. I'm not out on Gorman at all. I just don't see a way to put him in a postseason lineup.
Yeah.
He's not if you're facing DeGrom or Scherzer, he's not going to get a hit. He's not going to touch the ball the way he's hitting right now. Like that's just the way it is. And I don't know what happened, but yesterday he could have tied the game with what everyone's probably thinking. He's got massive power. He's not hitting home runs. He got 3 fastballs, not hitting directly in the same spot, and just didn't come close to any of them. Like 95 up in the zone, and he just whiffed. I think he may be the easiest hitter in baseball to pitch to if you have control. Because there's like 5 spots in the zone that if you hit your spot, he's not touching the ball.
You think two questions, 2 parts, and I'll let Caleb you answer the first one, and Mike, I'd like you to answer the second one. One, do you think, Caleb, that they send him to Arizona Fall League this fall to get as many reps as you can? And then Mike, 2, would he be on your postseason roster? So Caleb, I'll get to you first.
Can I answer both of them?
No.
Okay. Well, we can have different opinions. One, no, they already sent the Arizona Fall League roster, and he's not on it, so that's not even.
Oh, okay. Well, I should know that.
So I don't want to answer that question because it was stupid. Sorry. But 2, yes, he's on my postseason roster because he can provide something no one else on the team can off the bench.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have to have him on the postseason roster, and Ollie's been great all year with playing matchups, putting people in the best position to succeed the majority of the time. And I have faith that he'll pick the right spots to have Gorman in there.
I think so too.
Second question, follow-up. Is Paul DeYoung on the postseason roster?
No. Next question.
Okay. I said that last time on the last pod. I said he's not on mine.
I don't think, unless you have a spot just for defensive replacement. But
then Ben DeLuzio out there. I'd rather have him in.
DeYoung plays short, right?
Yeah, but here's my thing. If you're in a close game and you want a defensive replacement, and say you're in the Braves series and you're up 1, and then they score a run, do you want DeYoung hitting instead of Tommy or Donovan because you took one of those guys out?
Right. Yeah, I understand that obviously the defensive replacement comes with that risk, but I'm just saying for the infield defense, your best infield defense is DeYoung at short and Edman at second, right?
Yeah, so I agree with you, but I don't think it's substantial.
If you have a spot, then I could see that, but that would be the only reason I would use them in the playoffs or World Series would be just as a defensive guy.
My concern, and I agree with that. I completely agree with that rationale is, and we've seen the Cardinals in years past. 2013 comes to mind greatly, where you have 26 guys, back then it was 25 for a roster, but they're really playing like 4 short, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got a long reliever, hopefully never going to use. Kisner's never going to play, right? And now if you have DeYoung in there, like now all of a sudden you're playing with a 23-man roster instead of a 26. I guess what I'm trying to say is if we're going to go with a 26-man roster, which they are, 13 is your max pitcher, so that gives you 13 offensive guys. I want 13 guys I feel comfortable putting in there at any point in time that can contribute, if that makes sense. Outside of Kisner, 12.
And I
can see that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I can see that rationale for sure, but obviously the difference between now and back then is we aren't playing NL ball anymore, and you probably don't necessarily need all the bench spots to be utilized. So you probably can carry somebody that just comes in, and maybe that emergency guy is a pinch runner and not a defensive replacement. It is somebody to run for Yachty in the 9th inning.
I think DeLuzio is both of those things. He's and if you're going to put Corey Dickerson in the outfield, I would much rather have a defensive replacement in the outfield than at shortstop. Because Tommy Edman's almost as good, if not as good as Paul. Better than Paul DeYoung at shortstop, in my opinion. And Ben Donovan, while not Tommy Edman at second base, pretty close.
Hold on.
And hold on, I'm talking.
Oh.
And Ben DeLuzio can not only come off the bench and run, but he can also come off the bench and play center field, which gets Corey Dickerson out of left field. And whenever that happens, I'm happy because that guy cannot play left field.
I agree. So if we were to build, like if we're kind of looking at just building the offense, right? We can talk about the rotation later and the pitchers. But if you got 13 spots, which I assume they're going to use, 13, they're not going to go 14 hitters and 12 pitchers. I don't see there any reason that they would do that. They're going to take full advantage of those 13 pitchers, I would guess, right? So you got the 2 catchers. You've got Goldie, Pujols, right? Donovan, Tommy, Nolan. So that's 7. DC is 8. Dickerson 9. Lars 10. That leaves you 3 spots. We're all in agreement that Nolan Gorman's one of those, correct?
Yeah,
I am.
I think
So that
so.
gives you 2 spots. So you're looking at Deluzio, Burleson. Is Yepes even an option at this point? No.
He can be, but
He can
you're
be,
probably
but if
not
he's
going to
not
consider him.
If he's
Right.
not going to be
and
up
then
here, then I
DeYoung,
don't know
right?
why
So
you
it's
do
2
that.
of those 3.
Well, you're missing Tyler. I think he'll be back and on the roster.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair. If Tyler's back, that's 12. That leaves you 1 spot. Is Deluzio, both of you guys, is that the guy you would go with?
I don't really see why. So if you have Tyler O'Neill back and you have Carlson and Newt Barr, I mean, can't we have those 3 in the outfield in late in the game and still not have to deal with Dickerson out there? Do we really need an outfield defensive replacement? Is what I'm saying.
Do you think Paul DeYoung being a defensive replacement brings more value than a pinch runner late in the game?
That's not what
the
he's
question
saying.
you have to ask yourself.
That's
No,
not
I'm
what-
saying when you're making that
Right.
decision between Deluzio and DeYoung, you just got to ask what one's more valuable to you.
Well, I think honestly, the real question is most of those guys that we have that will be on the bench, minus Pujols, can run. So unless you plan on using all of your bench players most of the time, which they probably won't, you probably won't need to pick between a runner and a defensive replacement. You probably would have room to either or. And honestly, Paul DeYoung can be that guy that he can run. If we're talking about running for Yachty or running for Dickerson or whoever, Pujols in the late innings, I could make a case that at the end of the game, if you have Newt Barr, O'Neill, Carlson in the outfield, and Nolan, DeYoung, Tommy, Goldie across the infield, and Yachty behind the plate, you've got your best possible defensive lineup out there at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's true. And then if you have Gorman on that and DeYoung comes back up, you always have that option to pinch hit Gorman and then move Tommy back to short.
Right.
Later in the game. I think what they're doing right now is they want to see if Alex Burleson can be that guy, that extra guy. And they want to see if he can be that guy, I think.
Also, what the rule is, if I'm not mistaken, so correct me on this, I'm not hip to all the rules all the time. If somebody gets hurt during the series, he cannot be replaced until after the series is over. Correct? So to me, I think you have to have DeYoung on the roster now that we're just talking this out, because if we did have an injury, if Tommy got hurt, what would we do at shortstop?
I mean, you put Donovan
I think you
there,
have.
that'd be the answer, but
Okay, let me just ask, because I'm clarifying, because maybe I understand the rule wrong. I thought if a player got hurt during the series, you could replace them during the series, but then said player who got hurt has to miss the next series.
is that the rule?
Is that wrong?
I don't know. That's why I asked you, but I thought the rule was you couldn't make changes in the middle of the series.
I thought that's what it used to be.
Too. They may have changed it at some point, but
okay.
But if that is the case, to me, then I would say DeYoung's a lock to be on the roster. I'm not saying I like it.
Then you get into a really slippery situation of having to put Paul DeYoung in the lineup. I don't even want to think about that. Tommy, please stay healthy.
No, exactly. Right. We don't want that. That's worst case scenario. But I think at the end of the day, you have to at least plan for that going into a series where I
just think DeYoung's value is almost zero to any team. Like his defense it's honestly, since he's been back, been shaky. If anything, it hasn't been very good.
Yeah.
Thank you to the old Google. I was correct.
All right.
But then you get a situation where if Tommy's out for a game and you think it might be more than that, then he can miss the next series, and then they're not making that choice anyway.
It's definitely they said you can get a commissioner's exemption or whatever. Rob Manfred likes to make himself sound so fucking important all the time. But
I don't think he wrote that rule.
Whatever it is. Anyway, you can get that, and then yes, the player has to miss the rest of that series and the next series.
What a dumb rule! Why?
Well, I'm sure it's just so you don't. It's for roster manipulation, so guys aren't like, oh, he shoulder impingement.
Yeah, you could totally see Tony La Russa doing something like that. So that's
I know,
that's
but if it's
exactly
like Tommy Edman, like they're not kicking Tommy off the team for roster manipulation.
Yeah. Oh, that's impinged again.
Right. One guy goes 0 for 4. He's got a hip impingement. Another guy boots the ball, shoulder impingement. That guy, he's on paternity leave. He's not even married. That's all right.
That's all right.
I have a question.
I guarantee that's why. Yeah.
Are you the thing that I think Ollie needs to find his lineup and stick to it for the next 2 weeks, I think the offense feels not like very the opposite of cohesive. I don't know if it's non-cohesive, uncohesive. I don't know the word, but it just feels like it's all over the
I
place.
think not.
I feel like when you show up to the stadium and you know where you're hitting, who's in front of you, who's behind you, it just builds like a cohesiveness to the offense that allows you to know what you're doing, know who's behind you, know how to approach it. Every day it's a new lineup. And I get it, you want to rest guys, and I understand that. But I think now's the time to kind of go. Say these are our guys, these are our 9. We need to go and get ready for the postseason, I think.
The flip side to that is he's pretty much shuffled lineups all year, right? I mean,
yeah.
For the most part, we've had Arenado, Goldie in the same spots, and then everywhere else has been a shuffle, and that's really worked for him all year. So I, like you, like the stability of a lineup where you come to the park and know where you're going to be and who's hitting in front of you and behind you, but they just haven't done that at all this year. So I don't know if it's necessarily worth tinkering with now. If you do set your lineup, then, what do you do when we have guys struggling? Obviously, there's several right now that are struggling. Where if anybody would step up and get hot, I'm sure they would find themselves in there every day.
I think when they were going the best that they've gone all year was in that stretch of baseball where they beat the Braves and were just winning game. It seemed like winning every night. That's when it was Newbar, Donovan, Goldie, Nolan, Dickerson, Tyler, whomever, Yachty, and then Tommy 9 every night. Every night.
You left Albert out.
Albert wasn't playing at the time.
I know, but he will be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't think
I'm just telling you. First of all, he's going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, for now until he gets to 700. I'm ready for that man to hit 700, so we don't have to force him in every night. Though I'll tell you that much.
Okay, now that's a great segue there. That's again good journalism. Shout out to U of I.
Okay.
For Mike said it, and I couldn't agree more. I think Ollie's been incredible. Like I am highly impressed with what I've seen so far in one season from Ollie Marmol, and I do love almost the right-handed lineup, the left-handed lineup, the willingness to put somebody's butt on the bench when in years past that was never, especially the last 10 years, that's never been a thing, right? And we did see DeYoung play the first 50 games or whatever, and that, but I guarantee that wasn't an Ollie Marmol call. That there was nothing he could do about that, I don't think, until he said enough's enough, right? So I do question when we get to, let's just say we play the Phillies, which as of right now, things could change. But that's what it does look like. You're looking at Wheeler and Nola games 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
And I know Wheeler's been banged up. I think is he back this week? I think, or was he back?
He's coming back. He's coming back. I don't know if he's back yet or not.
So you're not going to. I don't even think Philly has a lefty in their rotation. Trying to go through it in my
Rangers
head.
Suarez.
Okay, Suarez. So that might be your game 3 pitcher, right? He might be. But
it depends on if they want to go Noah Syndergaard.
Are you going to sit? Are you going to sit Albert games? I guess.
Yes.
Okay. If Tyler's hurt, right, that changes everything because then Dickerson's in left field. That's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be Dickerson, Carlson, Newbar in the outfield. And Albert's your DH, right? I mean, can we agree on that?
I think they're going to give Burleson some run and see if he can be that guy.
I'm playing common sense. Look at this. I can't see them start Alec Burleson in a postseason game at DH over Albert Pujols.
Then why is he up?
There's not like one thing I can see where that happens.
Then why is he up?
I think outfield protection, maybe. Okay, again, now we're taking the question. Let me go back to question 1.
Okay.
Is there a chance? I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't see a scenario where game 1 playoffs, Busch Stadium, Albert's not in the lineup. No, lefty or righty. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, you want him hitting against Zach Wheeler? What's that going to do for you?
Mike, do you understand what I'm trying? Like,
I'm with you. I understand, and I also understand where Caleb's coming from. And I don't know the answer. I think that will be a test for Ollie. Is he willing to say, the analytics are telling me right here that Burleson would be the better play in this lineup, and I'm going to put Albert on the bench and pinch hit him if they have a lefty late in the game. I don't know if he has the stones to do that.
I think he did. I mean, he did it.
Right? Brad Hand late in the game for the Phillies.
He also here's the thing. He's done it. He did it in that Atlanta Braves series. Albert's going to play 1 game. We won
But
2-3. That was a
how
playoff
long
type
ago
game.
has that been, Kay?
I mean, he was the hottest hitter in baseball when that happened.
Okay.
But also, what I think Albert is such a weapon against left-handed hitters. Like you're talking about when there's left-handed pitchers. When there's a lefty on the mound, you've got 3 MVP candidates in your line. That's how good he is against lefties.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you much rather have the flexibility to say, okay, either you pitch to Dickerson or you pitch to Donnie here with a righty, or you get Albert. So you have to make that choice. Or would you rather have Albert in so they just pitch around him and make sure he doesn't face a lefty? Because that's way
Okay.
easier to manage than having a lefty and then having Albert waiting if you want to play that matchup. I'd rather do that.
I agree, and I'm not arguing again. I'm not arguing the other side. What I'm saying is, as someone who has watched the entire season unfold and watched this unfold and watch Albert Mania back in town, and they're going to have 48,000 folks in Busch Stadium for Game 1. It's going to be hard for me to envision a lineup that any manager. I mean, like I think Mike said it. Those are some massive stones. If he does not have Albert Pujols in the lineup, Game 1, NL wild card in Busch. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but then I guess I'll ask you this question: did it take massive stones to not play Albert against a righty, and what would have been his last ever game in Wrigley Field because he didn't play him?
Different. It's still a different. Playoffs
Yeah,
are
I
different.
I think the postseason's a lot different.
It's different,
So
but my thing is, if anything, he's proven to you that he's willing to do it because he's done it the whole year.
I guess, honestly, this could be a moot argument. If Tyler's not healthy, it's going to be Corey Dickerson in left field and Albert Pujols DH. I mean,
Yeah, and
I don't see
right
a
now,
scenario.
he's deserved it. Like right now, where we stand without Tyler O'Neill, he's the best option there.
Who?
Even against righties. Albert.
Yeah. That's.
But also I think we're getting a little bit convoluted because he's been playing every game. Ollie's chasing 700 with him. That's what he's doing. He's not putting him out there because he thinks he's the best matchup. He's putting him out there because he's trying to get 700 home runs, which I think may never be done again in the history of baseball. He may be the last person to ever do it. So that's really why he's playing every day. But he is performing to a level to where you can make the argument that he should just be out there because he's the best option. But if Tyler and Dickerson and Carlson, I'd rather have those three in than Albert personally, and against Zach Wheeler. And then I want the option to say we'll use Albert as our secret weapon whenever if they want to, stack 2 lefties at the top of the lineup like Dickerson and Donovan and say, okay, pitch a lefty, you're going to get Albert. Like I'd much rather do that.
I agree with that.
Okay, good. Hey, I hope Ollie's watching.
Ollie's so much smarter than me. I hope he's not.
But the question is not what's right and what's wrong. It's will Ollie be able to pull the trigger? And I think Mike's onto something there because postseason in St. Louis is a big deal, and Albert's last postseason at Busch Stadium is going to be a big deal, whether we care for it to be or not. And the fans are going to want to see Albert in the lineup.
The only thing that I would worry about if you don't want Albert in the lineup is there is something to be said that Albert steps up when the big moment's there. He's done it his whole career. I mean, the dude was out of the 700 chase, and now he's 2 away. No one knows how it happened, but he's there. Because when it's a big moment, he steps up. So, would you rather have Albert or Corey Dickerson up in a big at-bat like that? I mean, I don't know. Corey Dickerson might be better because he's left-handed, but it's Albert fucking Pujols. So maybe you'd rather have him up because he's just going to do it. No one's going to know how. So I don't know. I mean, even if he did it, I think I would understand the decision. I don't know if it's the best decision because I think you can use Albert as a secret weapon to where Brad Hand is one of the best Phillies' best relievers. Do you want to put him in? Go ahead, do it. I dare you because he's going to hit a home run and the place is going to go crazy. Like that's what I'd rather have. But
worst case scenario and scariest scenario is you put Albert in Game 1 against. They'll probably be Nola or Wheeler, which. We don't know if Phillies have to go up to the last 8. We don't know what's going to happen there. And Albert has a terrible day, and you lose. Do you see how? All right, which means Game 2 could potentially be Albert's last game ever. I mean,
yep.
Again, this is worst case scenario, right? I went to the darkest, but then I mean, you almost have to start him, even if he looks terrible.
Yep. Yeah, he earned it, and that's all you can do is say, Hope he catches some magic in Game 2 because, like you said, this could be his last game, and we're not going to bury him on the bench.
I do think both
I hope that doesn't happen, right? Like that's the worst case scenario. So
I do think both Ollie and Albert want the best position for the team to be in to win the game. Now, if they
Not all
believe,
100%.
I do think if Albert is in there, then that's them believing he's the best option, not that he's Albert Pujols. So that's
again,
my
Well,
opinion.
you
Go ahead,
don't
Mike.
think for a second though that Albert Pujols doesn't think that Albert Pujols is the best option to be
Oh,
in
he
there
does.
right now. I mean, so it's Ollie saying who is the best option. It's not a corroboration because 100% Pujols thinks he's the best option.
Yeah, I mean,
he
and
got,
should.
he
other
got
side
the
of this-
698. Yeah.
The other side of this coin is we're all also like one, Tyler's health means a lot, but we're also assuming that Dylan Carlson's going to be in there every day. We don't know that. Like we just don't. We have no idea what they're going to do with Dylan. I just don't know.
I want to get to that. They should give him every opportunity possible this week to earn that spot back because he's your best defensive center fielder, other than Deluzio, and he's not starting. And also, when he was hitting last year down the stretch, he was so valuable. That guy can do everything. He works counts better than almost anyone on our team. I mean, he can hit homers. He can hit doubles. I think you need to give that guy a chance to earn his job back because if Tyler's not healthy, who are you going to put? I don't want Lars Nootbaar playing center field every game. And that's no offense to him, but it just that's another weakness in your team is your outfield defense, and you really can't afford that, I don't think.
That's a good point. I think the last 2 weeks of the season needs to be just that. I think you got to find out what you have and give some of the guys that are struggling a chance to get out of it and prove that they belong because Carlson's upside is so big. I mean, I might be getting carried away, but I see Lance Berkman upside when I watch Dylan Carlson play.
Wow. Big Puma.
I do. He reminds me a lot of Berkman when he was young. And I think that potential is there. And obviously he's probably not going to hit that ceiling, but I think it's in there. And I think if you have that kind of talent and we're hitting the stretch run and we have 2 weeks where we can play with the lineups a little bit because we are going to be in the postseason, I think it's the perfect chance to give him a chance to get going. I think I would try to bat him right in front of Arenado and Goldschmidt too, and give him the best possible chance to succeed.
I love what Ollie's done this year, and I have very few things I'll nitpick and say I don't like that he's done. How he's handled Dylan Carlson is one of the things I vehemently disagree with, and I actually hate. To make a young kid a platoon player when you don't really have a better option in center field, and Ollie was in the dugout every game last year. He saw what Dylan Carlson was when he was good. That was a guy that could hit both lefties and righties, that could take great at-bats, that can play great defense, that has the best arm on our team, maybe besides Lars, because that guy's throwing people out every night. But I hate how he's used Dylan Carlson. That's one of the most talented complete players on our team. He should be playing, in my opinion. Bat him ninth if you have to. That he's still a great defensive center fielder. How did we give Harrison Bader the run we did when he couldn't hit ever? And we don't do the same for a guy who can hit better even when he's slumping than Harrison Bader did. I don't understand that.
Yep, I'm in the same boat, and especially when you don't have 3 other outfielders that are just tearing it up all the time.
And there's also something to be said with putting Tyler O'Neill in center field, knowing he had leg injuries the whole year, and then him getting hurt again. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? I can't prove that's why it happened, but I know it didn't help.
Sure.
Just a couple things. The man in the Syracuse, if he had his druthers, the man in the Syracuse shirt, we would have got to see this Albert run because we would have got to see Waino hit and Miles hit and Dakota Hudson hit and Steven Matz hit and everybody else. Jose Quintana be hitting every night. Monty be up there, even though he's probably never hit since he was 11. He'd be in there, and Albert would have 680 home runs.
I don't know. Albert would have revisited playing left field or something. But no, I kid. But yeah, you're not going to get me off that bandwagon. I still love the game in its purest form, and nothing's going to change that.
Just wait until Mike Trout's 39 years old DHing for us. Okay. Then you're going to be happy that he's out there.
So it's still not going to make the game more enjoyable to me. I don't think.
I'm just giving you crap, dude. I love.
I know. I love it.
And the fun. And to be fair, I 100%. Up until maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was the exact same way. Like 100% vehemently. Don't want the DH in the National League. And then I just started. Was like, well, now I'm kind of tired of watching everybody strike out every time, and nobody can bunt anymore. Like if pitchers could get bunts down like they could in the 1980s and 90s or 70s, hey, way better. But they cannot. Like, and also, I feel like 30 years ago, the guys coming up, they were hitting every day in the minor, or they were hitting in the minors. They hit in college. Now you have the specialization. This is a far deeper argument. But you've got 14U teams who have POs. You know what I mean? So
right.
A whole nother argument that we could have at a later date, but just a different world.
I still love the managerial aspect of the National League Baseball. I've always thought just because I like thinking along with the managers, except for Mike Schultz because I hated how he did it. But I like thinking along with managers when they were trying to make decisions and to navigate that situation. But man, it's nice when you have Wainwright at 92 pitches and he's throwing a gem and you don't have to worry about a spot coming up because you have a real hitter hitting there. Like you have Tommy Edman there instead of Adam Wainwright. So he can now go another inning and I can watch a real hitter hit a baseball. Like I really have enjoyed that a lot. I was always envious of like the Yankees when CC Sabathia had 100 pitches, you could send him back out there because he wasn't batting the next inning in a close game. I was always like, man, I wish we could do that. So that part I don't miss.
I know. I just hate making it easier. That's what I love about baseball is that it is hard. It's a hard game, and that's why guys like the three of us aren't playing in the big leagues because it's really hard. And and the managers have to make those hard decisions. They have to decide if they want to send Waino out for the 7th because he's got a bat with 2 guys on base in the bottom of the 6th, and we're down a run. That's what makes the game fun. I mean, I just think if you do all this in the, under the guise of saying we're trying to get younger fans, and I just don't see it. I think young kids love the game just because they love the game. I mean, if you want to just do entertainment value, then take them to a Savannah Bananas game.
And honestly, I agree 100% that if that is your argument, because let's be honest, the argument is that this all came from the MLBPA to protect 14 other jobs or 16 other jobs. That's what 15 other.
Which I'm all for, by the way.
15 more jobs. You know what I mean? That's what
I'm
it was.
sure. I'm a big fan of letting older players, like say, for example, Justin Turner right now is absolutely raking. If in 2 years they have a young stud and third baseman that can play better defense than him, and that means Justin Turner gets to continue hitting in the big leagues for the Dodgers. That's what I'm a fan of because I like Albert Pujols, a great example. He's now DHing for us. Like he might not have had a job if there wasn't a DH. And I mean, he probably would have, but for a bad team, he wouldn't be here. That's for sure.
No, he would not.
And then I'm a fan of that because I like having more jobs for older players. I like that. I like longevity. I like seeing guys that are able to go out on their own terms and stuff of that nature. So that's the biggest thing. I like having 15 more jobs for good hitters than Nelson Cruz is a good example with the Nationals. That was the biggest thing for me that really sold me. That and Adam Wainwright hurting his Achilles when he was hitting. Those two things completely switched me to the dark side. And I get you could say he could have done it when he was pitching, and I get that. But the fact is he did it when he was hitting, and he shouldn't have been hitting, in my opinion. So that's right. Where I'm at with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I just argue with he did it playing baseball, which that's
just part
of the game of baseball. But for me, and I agree. Of course you like the job security for older guys and get them to watch play. But that's why it was great that you had the AL and NL with 2 different rules. So the old guys that couldn't play the field anymore had a place to go in the AL and they could DH, and the NL would use a guy like Jose Oquendo on their bench to plays 9 different positions and puts the ball in play. It's a different game, but I enjoyed having the different game.
I'm also glad I don't have to watch Jordan Alvarez play left field in the World Series ever again.
There's also Mike's argument with the it was definitely checkers versus chess. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I do think eliminating it, and that was always my argument against it. And now, obviously, like Caleb said, switch to the dark side. But it definitely it's checkers now. It's not chess.
I like checkers more. I don't understand chess. And I'm really good at checkers, so that's fine with me.
Yeah. But you understood the baseball version of chess.
You did.
I guess.
I
liked it.
A couple things. We are about 35 minutes in. We've talked NFL football, postseason rosters, little college football, checkers versus chess. We have yet to mention that this week 2 massive things happened. Albert hit number 698, 1. But bigger than that, Waino and Yachty, 325. And I was at the game on Thursday, the week before, where they tied it, 324. Wayno wasn't super sharp, but that's irrelevant. Super cool, like super cool. But 325, and honestly, this is bad journalism. I should have looked up who it was that they broke. I don't even know whose record they broke.
Mickey Lolich and Tim Freehand. Hold on.
That's good. U of I education right there.
It's not worth the money, I can tell you that much.
325. That's that's unbelievable.
Mickey Lolich and Bill Freehand. I was very close.
All right. And that was back with the 4-man rotation, I guess, mainly in the 60s.
It was 60s to 70s.
Yeah. With the Tigers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you got the 5-man. You're never gonna see that again. I don't think we'll ever see 300 wins again. I don't know that we'll ever get to 3,000 strikeouts again. Caleb hit it on the head. We're never going to see 700 home runs. I mean, I should never say never, but those were two massive.
It's gonna be hard.
I mean, you got Albert rolling in on 700, and then Yachty and Wayno breaking a record that again is never ever going to be broken at 325. I mean, that put a statue of all three of them together if you have to. Or, if you want to put Yachty and Wayno walking out of that should be the statue, and then Albert, right? I don't know, but this is unbelievable that we're watching this in 2022, 11 years after Albert left. I don't even know. Again, I've said it 180 times. It gets old. I'm sorry. It's a Disney movie, and we're watching it play out right in front of us.
The weirdest thought that I had the other day was that if COVID never happened, Albert might already be at 700 and retired. Because they might have played 100 more games and he might have gotten there and he might have never come back. So maybe that was one positive that came out of the worst thing that maybe has ever happened to our country. But
or he might be going for a bigger record.
He might be going for Dave. Yeah, right.
Or higher.
It's crazy to me that Wayno's, by the way, good news is he thinks he's out of the little funk he was in. He had a little bit of dead arm and he's coming out of it, which is great because we're going to need him, obviously. Their record, I'm not going to say it's more impressive than Albert's because Albert's done it. 4 other people have done it. But to have a record that I don't think will ever be broken at 325, and it might get to 328 before they're done-ish, 327, 328. That will never be broken. Wilson Contreras and Kyle Hendricks are the closest to them currently. They're like 150 away, and Kyle Hendricks is going to retire in a year probably. So I don't know if that record will ever be broken. It's crazy. I don't even know if I can say anything. I don't know how you can even do what they do. It's incredible. And to have the injuries, I mean, imagine what they'd be at if Wayno didn't deal with injuries early in his career.
And I'll say it over again, and Mike, I'd love to hear from you on this because you and I kind of grew up in Cardinal baseball at the same. I mean, 1982 is the pinnacle for me. So and then from there it just went from there. But this run, in fact, we were in Louisville and I was talking to some Reds fans. It was pretty funny. They're from Cincinnati, and I was just like, people don't realize we get pissed about it, but the 25. Nobody else has had a 25-year run like this. You can say the Yankees won more World Series, the Red Sox won more World Series, but they've also had bad baseball seasons where the Cardinals really have not. Yeah, we missed the playoffs 3 times. We missed them a couple times in the early 2000s. I guess no, we didn't, but we didn't have the high success. The 25 years, like from '96 when Tony took over till now, just to watch all this, but to see what Yachty and Wayno and then Albert have done. I mean, it's like I said, I don't even know how to put it into words anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty historic, and I'm going to be first in line to buy the book when they write a book about all this. But
maybe I'll write
amazing. There you go. I co-sign that. Sign a copy for me, right?
Please.
Okay, I will.
Yeah. But honestly, though, just thinking about the Wayno and Yachty record for a second.
Sorry.
Bless you. Unlikely to me that either side would get broken. Like just having a pitcher make 325 starts for the same team or a catcher to, it's not going to happen. That a catcher to play 19 seasons with the same team, just individually, it's almost impossible. And the fact that they did it together is incredible. And I'm just grateful that we get to witness it all happen. And like you said, that run that we've been on, I saw the stat, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so obviously I'm not going to be able to quote this directly, but I'm sure you guys saw it on Twitter too. I think Derek Gould might have posted it about the run that they've had, how they've only been out of playoff contention for 24 days, and however many years it's been now.
Yep.
It just goes back to how spoiled we are as Cardinal fans. You know, we complain when they don't spend the money, or we complain when they don't get the big ticket guy, and that they're raking in the money from Ballpark Village and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, they put a product on the field that is in contention to make the dance every year. And most of the years they're in the dance. And honestly, any other fan base would trade places with that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
all wanted Juan
Okay.
Soto, but you know, the Padres may be really good for 2 years. They may win 2 World Series. I don't know, or they may not. And then they don't have any of the guys that they drafted and developed. They don't have Juan Soto, and then they have Tatis and Machado standing out there wondering what the hell happened to their team. So the way the Cardinals have run their organization, I don't know if they have they probably have more money at their disposal than they lead on to be a little bit better every year. That's probably true. But
sure.
They're good every year. Like, look, I mean, the Dodgers can afford to do what they do every year, where they can go for Scherzer and Turner and still not even worry about losing Keeper Ruiz and Josiah Gray. But the way the Cardinals have run, I mean, John Mozeliak, say all you want about him, the guy is extremely calculated, and it has worked what he has done. He has brought a ring here. He has done a lot of stuff. I mean, look at our team this year. I mean, we have 95 wins, and the dude pulled up 2 of the best trades at the trade deadline. I mean, he got Chris Stratton, who has a 3 ERA for us in the bullpen, and no one talks about him because his other 2 have been so good. And then look at AJ Preller, and Juan Soto has been horrible, and they haven't been great since he got there. So I think
And
the
you
way
didn't even
they
mention Josh Hader.
Yeah, Josh. I feel like he's a weird situation. He's been better lately, which I like Josh Hader. I hope he does okay. But I just feel like the way that they've run their organization over the past, like you guys say 25 years, but since I've been alive, so 20 years. It's every year you know that in September there's going to be something to be excited about. Whether or not you're 1 game out, you end up missing out for 3 straight years like they did in, what was it, 16 through 18 or something. But I don't know. It's almost second to none. Like the Dodgers have done it for a long time. I know they've won 9 out of 10 divisions. I get it.
But they
the
still only
Yankees,
have 1 World Series in the last 30 years.
They have the same amount of World Series since 2010 as we do. I can tell you that much. You know, and the Red Sox have been great, and they've won a lot of World Series. They're in 5th place right now. If the Cardinals were in 5th place, I think their stadium would burn down. So I don't know. I think we are spoiled, and I get it because I think they'd rather us be spoiled than be content with what they're doing. Because that's what makes Cardinal baseball great, is that people come out and they care so much about it that even when we are spoiled, we want it to be better. And that's why it's been great for so long, because they at least make it better every year, or try sometimes.
The last thing I'll say about the Waino Yachty thing, because we could go on. I mean, we could do a whole segment if we wanted to on that. Just Waino's post-game conference. He's going to make Tom Brady like money probably if he wants in baseball. I mean, I'm joking. Like what Brady's got like $230 million from Fox. I'm kidding, but he is so well spoken. He's calculated. He's intelligent. He never lets a moment get away from him. And I think that's hard for a human to do. When you get caught up in the emotion of what you just did, he doesn't forget anything. And maybe he practices it in front of his mirror in the morning. I don't know. But listen to him in that conference. Like it was amazing. And then obviously Yachty the same way. But I don't know. I don't know what else to say about Adam Wainwright. Other than I kind of want to get your take on this from you two. I didn't think this a year ago or 2 years ago or maybe even 6 months ago. But I think you have, and I got into a little argument with somebody over this. That's all right. That's kind of the fun part of social media. I think Waino's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he gets in the first ballot. All right. Even though how cool would it be for Albert Yachty and Waino to all go into Cooperstown the same fucking year? That would be unbelievable. Right. I mean, that would be unreal. But I used to be all Hall of Very Good. And honestly, I've changed my mind on Scott Rowland. I've changed my mind on Jim Edmonds. I think they should be in. I used to say, no, they're Hall of Very Good. They're not Hall of Fame. But when you put their numbers against the greats of the era they played in, Waino is top 5 in almost everything. And he's in line with guys like Kershaw, Scherzer, Verlander, and DeGrom.
He's not in line with those guys. He's behind those
But
guys.
what I'm saying is, though, he's the next guy, and I understand that. But when you're in the top 5 or top 10, and when in a few things I was looking at, he's top 10 with guys from the last 20 years like Pedro and Clemens and those guys. I don't know. I think there's a strong argument.
I think there's an argument, but I think if Felix Hernandez doesn't get in, I don't think he will. It's going to be very tough for you to make an argument for Adam Wainwright to be in if Felix isn't in, because they're both one of the best of their generation. But when you stack them up against some of the best of all time, maybe they don't look nearly as good. Waino, his longevity is incredible. His story, by the way, that book's going to be incredible whenever he writes one, because he's going to, about how he thought he was done, played catch with Dominic Leone, found out he could throw the ball again without it hurting, and now he's back doing this, going to be pitching probably game 1 of a postseason series. I don't know. I mean, I would put him in, but I can't say that my opinion is not biased, because it is. I've watched the guy my whole life. I mean, he's been I can't remember a time where Adam Wainwright wasn't a Cardinal, because I was like 2. So I'm biased towards him. I would put him in. I think his longevity is incredible. And I think being a top 10 Cy Young candidate last year at the age of 40, after being incredible when he was younger, and then closing out a postseason and being a great reliever and doing all these things, he's accomplished everything you can accomplish but winning a Cy Young, to be quite honest. So I think there's a good argument, but I find it hard to believe he gets in.
Mike, before I get your take on this, just, obviously he didn't win the Cy Young, but what was it, like 2007 to 2012, top 3 in Cy Young voting all 5 years? You're talking about a guy, again, I'm just looking at numbers, right? And against guys in his era, top 10 in ERA among current pitchers, 3rd on that list in innings. The only 2 ahead of him, Scherzer and Verlander. So you've got a lot of guys who are ahead of him in ERA, but have half the innings. So by the time they get to him, that ERA is probably going to be lower. 4th among current MLB pitchers in career wins. 5th among active starting pitchers in WAR, which is, no matter if you love it or not, that is a thing that they look at. 4 top 3 finishes in Cy Young, and one of 36 pitchers, which this is the one that got me, one of 36 pitchers all time. Sorry, my thing went off of there. One of 36 pitchers all time with over 190 wins, 2,000 Ks, and lower than a 3.4 ERA, while making over 350 starts and throwing more than 2,300 innings. That's unbelievable. 29 of them are in the Hall of Fame. Scherzer, Kershaw, Verlander, him, and Clemens aren't. Now, we can talk about Clemens whenever you want, but those other 3 guys are in. And then just one more stat, and then, Mike, I'd love to hear what you have to say. But in the wild card era, which is his era, the group of 190 wins, 2,000 Ks, 2,300 innings, 350 starts, and an ERA less than 3.4. The pitchers who have this: Scherzer, Verlander, Clemens, Randy Johnson, Pedro, Maddox, Kershaw, Halladay, and Waino.
Pretty good company.
And all those guys are undoubtedly Hall of Famers that you just named. At least Hall of Fame, except for Clemens, but that's a different reason.
That's why if you want to make, and I guess you could make the argument he's not going to have he's probably not going to get to 200 wins unless he comes back next year, which he
might. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think he will, honestly.
I wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked by that. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on the Hall of Fame? Am I just misguided and caught up in 325 and my love for Adam Wainwright, which is fine if I am?
Well, I mean, I think we all are to some degree, because he's an icon in the Cardinal franchise, and he's active and he's still effective, and we love him. So obviously that all goes into play in our mind. But like you said, he is in some rare company with a lot of those stats. The thing that, honestly, if he hadn't lost basically 2 to 3 seasons worth of injuries, I think this conversation is a slam dunk. He's in. But I think he has a lot of things going for him too on his side, because the fact that he is so likable and so good with the media, and that's going to help him. I think the guys that have votes, they pay attention to that stuff, and whether you like it or not, the guys that are jovial and likable are going to get a few more votes. So he has that going for him, and he also has the longevity. Pitchers just don't stick around for this long anymore, and to be able to be as effective as he's been for as long as he's been is going to be a huge mark in his favor. So I don't think he'll make it on the first ballot. It would be awesome if he did, but I do think he'll get in down the road, and it won't be Veterans Committee. I think he'll eventually work his way in.
Yeah,
he might get Larry Walkered. until at
Right,
the end they
right.
realize, oh wait, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. Like how Larry Walker went so long without getting in the Hall of Fame is beyond me. But I don't know what those people voting do. Hopefully, I'm a member of that someday, so I can talk to them and tell them, hey, you missed on Larry Walker for 10 years. Can we please fix this and get these guys in? But I don't know. I don't know how Scott Rowland's not in the Hall of Fame right now. So I don't know what they're going to do. But if Scott Rowland's not in on the first 3 ballots or however many he's been on, I have a hard time believing Adam Wainwright's in the first one. But maybe he'll get
Right.
in.
Like I said, and I prefaced my argument that I don't think it's a first ballot kind of thing, which again is idiotic. Like we can have that discussion at another time.
It's stupid.
Like either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. You're not still playing. So we know the stats; they don't change. But that's another argument. But just one more thing I want to throw out because it's the Sandy Koufax kind of syndrome. I don't know if that's the right word. That sounds like the negative syndrome sounds negative, I guess. But the Sandy Koufax effect, where they really do kind of look at the 10 years, your 10-year frame, right? From 2000, this is the one also that got me. From 2006 to 2015 for Waino, and obviously 2006 he was a closer, so he wasn't even starting, right? They moved into the bullpen, then to 2015, and he missed 2011, a whole year. So he missed one of these years. 119 and 66 with a 2.96 ERA. Only Kershaw was better. Any pitcher who threw over 1,000 innings. I mean, so in your 10-year span, your best 10, you were the second best pitcher in all of baseball.
And he had several other good years to go along with those 10.
And like I said, one of those years was a reliever role, and the other, and 2011 he was out with it. Was that the Achilles? Was that the arm? That's Tommy.
2011 he had Tommy John, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. So that was an 8-year stretch.
Yeah, and he would have 1, 2, or 3 Cy Youngs if Clayton Kershaw didn't have the best 5-year run of maybe any pitcher to ever live. Like, to be quite honest. So, yeah, I mean, he was great, and he was never appreciated really in his prime because of Kershaw, because of Scherzer when he came over here, and he was incredible. Even Roy Halladay, he always said he was trying to beat Roy Halladay. He'd look and see Roy Halladay through another complete game. He'd be like, damn, I have to do that again. But and Chris Carpenter, he took a lot of the shine away from him when he was.
That's
really
what I was going to say. Yeah.
So he's always kind of been second in people's minds. But I think when you look at his stats, I mean, he deserves to be up there with some of those guys.
And just one last thing that we can move on. Do you guys believe 325? I mean, that's a magical record. Maybe it's just magical in St. Louis and to the baseball nerds like us. Like maybe it is. You know what I mean? Like maybe nobody else cares about 325. But that and also playing 16, maybe 17 seasons, maybe 18 when it's all said and done. My math isn't good. With the same team, do you believe the Hall of Fame voters look at that at all? Or is that just one of those things that, again, we love like a romanticized baseball and the Cardinals and Adam Wainwright?
I don't know. I don't know what to look at.
That's fair.
I can't even get into there. My Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame and Barry Bonds isn't. I don't have any opinions on the Hall of Fame voters. I don't know. I don't know what to look at.
I think a lot of times with Larry Walker and I think Waino's going to fall into this category too. I think a lot of times what happens is you get a couple guys that sneak in that don't belong, or maybe you make the argument they don't belong, and then you say, okay, well, we let this guy in, but Larry Walker's not in. Now let's compare these two, and then eventually they come around to seeing, okay, well, Larry Walker is the Hall of Famer. I think that's what's going to happen with Waino. I don't know that the voters necessarily care about the records, but again, it doesn't hurt. It can't hurt to have that, on your resume.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just one of those things. Like, I'll be honest, I never until maybe the last few months started even really thinking it was a sincere possibility. But what he's done at his age, at the age of 40, I mean, it's unbelievable. He's getting better. And he's going to have hiccups. He is going to go 5 innings here and there. He's a major league pitcher. Alex Manoah had a 5-game stretch where he could get out of the 5th inning. He's one of my favorites. One of the most dominant pitchers in the American League. That's going to happen. I mean, this guy's 40. It's a little bit different. And he did have the down years, but I mean, Clemens had some down years. I mean, we can make that argument with a lot of guys. Kershaw had a couple down years lately. He's been great this year, unbelievable. But I think it's one of those really interesting things. I just always wonder if sometimes my mind is clouded by just being a Cardinals fan.
I think it could. I think that's always. I mean, there's always bias and everything. You got to look at the numbers. But for me, like the way we feel about Waino is probably the way people feel about Todd Helton if you're a Rockies fan, but way stronger. because that guy's not even in the Hall of Fame yet, and
Yeah.
he has a 300 batting average for his career, 400 on base, and 500 slugging. And the dude's not in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why. So I don't know. I feel like he's about as big of an icon for that organization as Wayno is for ours. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. He should be in eventually. If he doesn't get in originally, he'll get in by the Veterans Committee. He will be a Hall of Famer at some point in time in his life. I'm confident in that. I just hope they don't wait too long.
The thing that I appreciate the most about Wainwright is just watching him work, because we're in a day and age now where everybody throws 100 miles an hour and throws 94-mile-an-hour sliders and 90-mile-an-hour changeups and strike everybody out. But to watch Wainwright pitch and work hitters and work counts and think through the game with Yachty, that's what I appreciate about him. Is he's a competitor, and he's probably the smartest pitcher that I've seen in my lifetime. The way he works and sets people up, that's what I appreciate the most about him. He used to have the velocity, but now he's living on changing speeds, changing eye level, and hitting location, and that's just enjoyable to watch in this day and age because it's rare.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's Greg Maddux like. I mean, I'm not putting him in that same category because Maddox's numbers are at the top 5, maybe all time in Major League Baseball.
Top 1.
But it's very reminiscent of that. And we're lucky. Again, we're lucky that we get to see this. And I feel like, and Cam and I've talked about this a lot with players who are in their prime now, that I feel like we take for granted so many guys, and then all of a sudden they get to the end of their career like, oh man, oh man. And I feel like we haven't done that with Wayno, but at times maybe we have.
Well, if Wainwright were 25, would he even be able to make a roster?
Probably not.
I don't know. Dakota Hudson's on a roster, so I would say probably.
Good point. Fair point.
We don't need to spend a lot of time on the Reds and the Brewers series, do we? I mean,
it's more of the same to me. I did think the Corbin Burns game was really impressive. To come out and hit him the way they did, I really thought that was a bright spot, because we've seen, you really start to worry that the Brewers might make this thing, and the way that we had been facing Corbin Burns, it's like, oh, so we're down 1-0 in the series, and it's a 3-game series. So for them to come out and be able to beat him, obviously on the 325 night was cool, but to come out and hit him, Lars to hit an absolute bomb off him was great to see. So that was the bright spot. Everything else, it was kind of like, just meh baseball. Right. And I get it. I mean, I think their dog days are coming a little late this year. It's normally August. They had their big surge in August. I think the first couple of weeks of September are their dog days, and they're kind of feeling it right now. I would just like to see in the next 7 to 10 days them start to turn it around and start to go. It's really all
you got
them right now.
3 coming up with San Diego. I think Clevenger, Snell, and Musgrove. I mean,
3 good pitchers. That's a good test.
They are. They're all really good pitchers, but they're also like it all. We can make them look even better, or the offense starts to click. And I think all 3 of those pitchers are gettable. I really do.
They are.
For sure. Yeah, definitely gettable. The Cardinals offense, when it's on, is everybody's gettable.
It's lethal.
And,
when it's on.
Right, and they proved it with Corbin Burns. It's just a matter. I think you get to this stage of the year and you are, playing against some of the rum-dums of the league. It's hard to get up for that, and when you've got the playoffs looming. So I think this is going to be good to get out to the West Coast, play against some playoff type competition, and get into that kind of atmosphere again, and maybe even get away a little bit from the 700 hoopla for a little bit. I think that'll be good for them.
I mean, they're never.
Go ahead.
Sorry, they're never going to admit this because they're competitors. Every night they go out there, they want to win, obviously. But we even saw they played the Yankees. That series was electric. I was at one of the games. They swept them. The crowd was going insane. They fed off of it. And then they go to Colorado, kind of dragged ass for a series, to be quite honest. Then they went to play Milwaukee, another electric series. Then the Cubs kind of dragged ass a little bit. I mean, it just kind of spirals that way. When you go and you play a team that that you're trying to make a statement in, it's just different. Like that Braves series was one of the most fun postseason clinching regular season series I've seen in a long time. When you're going against a team where you're like, this is something we can make a statement here. We can show that we're for real. You get up for those a little bit more. And it's just natural. Like, I know they're never going to say, oh, well, we try harder against the Braves than we do against the Cubs. But it's just the energy. The energy is different. Right. So Like I do think, however, this could be one. It's late and you're going to the West Coast and you're behind 3 hours, and it could be a little tough, or 2 hours, I guess. And then they maybe don't play great. That could happen. Or two, they're going to go out there and they're going to play really well, and then they're going to make another statement. Oh, okay, so they were just bad because they weren't getting up for the Pirates and the Reds, which is very possible.
I think it's three really important starts too. And Mike, tell me what you think about this. But you got Waino, Michaelis, and Jack. Like honestly, we need to see three really solid starts from those guys against the Padres because that's postseason competition.
Yep, I think it's big because Waino has been struggling a little bit. Michaelis has been a little bit hot and cold, and Jack's velocity is there, and it looks to me like his stuff is there. I think he's just a little bit off on his location, and that's where he's getting hit a little bit. But I mean, if he stays healthy and he can fine tune the location, that's a big weapon in the playoffs. And so, yeah, if we could get at least two of those three to put a good start on here and give us some innings, that would go a long way.
Mike, did you watch? Did you watch?
Caleb and I have talked about this. There's nothing like my wife may not love this, but there is because then it hogs the TV all night. But I love 9 o'clock starts, man. I don't know why. I didn't love it when I talked, but I don't do that anymore. So, but those 9 o'clock starts are awesome, and you've got a bunch of them coming up.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
Well, yeah, and for me, I'm up till midnight every night anyway. I've always been that way. So I don't sleep early. It's midnight, 1 o'clock before I fall asleep every night. My wife's in bed by 9:30 or 10. She doesn't like baseball anyway, so it's perfect for me. I can watch some sitcoms up until 9. Turn the Cardinal game on. She's off the bed, and it's game on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I want to get back to Jack for 1 second because I think he may be the X factor of this season for this team. If he can be, I'm not going to say 2019 Jack Flaherty. That's unreasonable at this point in time to even put that as his ceiling right now. He's done it before. It's just not fair to say he can be the best pitcher in baseball right now. I think if he can get back to being first half 2021 Jack Flaherty, this team is going to be very hard to beat at home in any series. Very hard. Because they have a different energy about them. I know it's the historic things happening. But man, he looked really good, I thought, his last start. I don't know if you watched it, Mike. I think you were not watching. I think you were
I did not watch
in Louisville. But
Yep.
He looked great. His stuff was great. It was like he gave up 3 runs in like a blink of an eye. Nolan made a really bad throwing error that led to 1, and somehow it was still an earned run. I don't really know how that happened. But it kind of was like a blink of an eye. It's like, well, his stat line sucks, but his stuff looked as good as I've seen it in a year and a half, probably. I thought at least.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed. I've watched, I think, his last 3 or 4 starts now, and all of them, I thought, he's touching 97 once in a while, and sitting in the mid 90s again, which that's a great sign. And his breaking stuff looks good. He's getting swings and misses, so I think it's there. But to me, when I've watched his starts, he's not hitting the mitt consistently. It's 1 out of 3 pitches is right where Yachty calls it, and he's capable of tightening that up. And once he does, I think he's a huge weapon. And like you said, I think he's the X factor for sure.
And even with his stuff, man, if that guy misses a spot, I mean, it's 9 times out of 10 is still probably not getting hit because they're so good. So if he can, that shows you how badly he's missing. I think it's more the counts he's missing in than when he's him missing. It seems like he's missing a lot of 0-2 counts with breaking pitches or fastballs, and that's obviously where the hitter's looking to protect. So you miss over the middle, they're going to hit it. And he even said after the game, he said, "I'm missing too many 0-2 pitches, and it's costing me every time." So when he starts, I think he's healthy, which is the big thing. And I think he just needs to start putting it together, and I think he will personally.
All right. And then I guess we go into LA. Always tough to play in Chavez Ravine. But you've got Monty, Q,
Miles.
That's who you'd have on in there,
Miles,
right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then they'd go to Milwaukee with Michaelis and Flaherty. So that's kind of what you're looking at, I assume, with the rotation right now. Then you finish off the next 2 with Pittsburgh. First 3 here, then we go there. So I mean, the rotation sets up well. The Dodgers. I mean, I get the feeling a lot of people in St. Louis haven't really watched the Dodgers. I shouldn't say that's very speculative, but just I think people view them from afar. Oh, they're really good. When you watch them, they're a different type of good.
They're really good.
Yeah.
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 I still don't
and that's
think.
why that's why I want to play him as late as possible and just give everybody else a shot to knock them off first.
And the other thing is, and Kev, I'll let you say this too, our answer also, but Max Muncy started to hit in case nobody's paid attention. He's healthy now. He said all year was that with the shoulder or elbow. I don't remember what he had.
He broke his elbow last year. Or dislocated his elbow last year.
And then all of a sudden he said he finally feels healthy. He is raking in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And that's just that lineup does not stop. I mean, we talk about the Braves lineup, which I love. My God, you put together that many homegrown guys in that line. That's a thing of beauty right there. But the Dodgers, their lineup does not stop either. And Freddie Freeman's going to win a batting title, it looks like, because the Goldie slump has almost given him that. They are a wagon.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say about them. It's every year. But but the thing is, it's almost like when you're an outsider, you're like, who's going to knock them off? Whoever knocks them off is going to win the World Series. Someone's going to knock them off and win the World Series. It happens every year. They won once, and every other year it seems like they either lose in the World Series or they lose to the team that wins the World Series. So, I mean, they're really good, but are they? They're not unbeatable. I feel like that's the thing about them. You look at them, you're like, man, they're really good, but their starting rotation is not what it has been at all. Gonsolin's been banged up. Urias is good, but you can hit him. He's not a guy where you pencil 7 earn 0 earned runs. They don't have Buehler. They don't have Kershaw's been up and down with injuries. I mean, that's not an unbeatable team, but man, they're really good. But for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's a mental block. I know the record's insane. I just don't feel like they're as good as I felt they've been the last couple of years. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, their record says they're really good, but like you said, there's some chinks in the armor now with their rotation, and I think that's where they can be had in the postseason in a short series. Get a couple outstanding pitching performances against them, and hope for the best.
And they don't really have that closer. Like Craig Kimbrell's been really up and down. They don't have that fire-breathing Kenley Jansen waiting out there to shut you down every 9th inning. So I mean, they're a team that they're obviously really good. They're the best team in baseball, and it's not close. But I think that they are as beatable as they've been since they've had this run of dominance. And that's crazy to say with their record, but that's just how I think.
I'm excited for these next 8 games because I just think that's like you guys, both of you have said it. It's going to be like these are big games. Like these aren't playing the Reds, the Nationals, the Cup. They're just not. These are guys you could see in 3 weeks. So you better be on it. Like you better take good at bats. You better grind at bats. You better get hits. You better run the bases well and play good defense. And if you get some pitching in there, you can win. You can go 5-3 in this next 8. You can. There it is. There it is, right there.
I think the reason it feels like that as well. I love playing good teams because when that ball hit Andrew Kisner's arm, they walked it off. It was a sigh of relief that we didn't just lose to the Reds. But now if that happens and you're playing the Padres or the Dodgers, it's like, man, we just beat them, and that feels good. It doesn't feel like, oh, thank God we didn't just embarrass ourselves. So that's what it is. Just a different feeling when you're playing good teams. And I'll tell you what, this Padres series, watch out because Juan Soto's starting to hit, and that team's starting to go. So of course that's when we play them because why wouldn't it be? But if we start to lose, watch out for Twitter for the Juan Soto comments because that's going to be fun.
I was going to get into, but we're running. We want to get Mike out of here in a little bit. Also, we run a little bit longer, which is great because we've had some awesome conversations here. I was going to get into the Jeff Albert stuff. We'll leave that for another time. It just blows. I got a lot to say about it, but we'll talk later about it. As someone who was, what is this? Who is this guy? To now, like, I don't know how you argue with numbers and facts and the whole system hitting. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts there, but I don't think we need to get into that.
I'll say one quick thing. His job was to revamp the entire system of the Cardinals, not just the major leagues, and we have the most good hitters we've ever had since I've been alive in our organization right now. That's all I've got.
All right.
Fair enough.
There it is. All right. We'll just scratch that off the list. We don't even need to talk about it.
No, we'll move on.
Let's take a trip around the league. The old Twib notes. Shout out Mel Allen and This Week in Baseball, which Mike and I grew up on. The greatest baseball show of all time.
Absolutely.
Nothing's ever close. Greatest show of all time. So just a few things, and then I'm glad Mike's up here to get more than just Caleb's reaction. No offense, Kay, but it's always good to get a third perspective. But just a few things. Dodgers and Astros clinch. So they're already in. MLB Central, maybe the second greatest baseball show of all time. I do really enjoy that show. DeRosa said something that I thought was really, really cool, and I had never really heard a player talk about it before. He said every year that the Braves would clinch, Bobby Cox would go around the entire clubhouse and ask players, because they're talking about, like, do you give guys days off? Is it too, do you clinch too early? Can you then peak? How do you keep that balance? And he said Bobby Cox would go around the entire clubhouse and ask what incentives they had in their contracts, which I think is awesome. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's cool. Especially when you get the J-Rod contracts where he can make an extra $200 million if he hits his incentives.
Right.
You said J-Rod. You had me flashing back to Johnny Load.
I don't know who that is, but he sounds like a porn star.
Well, it was the original John Rodriguez for the Cardinals.
Johnny Rodriguez.
Yeah, they called him J-Rod, and Tony La Russa hated the nickname, so he made his own nickname up and called him Johnny Load because he didn't want people calling him J-Rod.
But I just thought that was like, those are stories you don't hear, and I'm sure, hey, some guys have a games played in their contract, some guys have a hits thing in their contract or a strikeout in their contract. I thought that was just one of those little nuggets that I heard, and I was like, that's pretty awesome. Like, if you're a player, that's a manager I want to play for then.
Absolutely, for sure. I'd never heard that before. That's a great story, though.
It's like when Tom Brady was trying to feed Gronk and AB last year to get them their incentives.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and then AB ran off the field.
Yep, that happened. I forget that happens sometimes.
Staying with the Braves, Strider, Quadzilla, that dude is unbelievable. Fastest pitcher in MLB history to rookie, or is it pitcher to get to 200 strikeouts, did 130 innings, which is unbelievable. The big unit had done it in 130 and 2/3 innings. And the first franchise pitcher for the Braves to get to 200 strikeouts. You and I talked about it, Kay, and I'd like to get Mike's perspective before you kind of finish this off here. Is it Michael Harris or Spencer Strider for Rookie of the Year, Mike?
Gosh, I got to go Strider. It's a great battle, but Strider has been pretty amazing from day one, and it's hard to find a rookie with a performance like his right now. So Harris is great too, but I would give the nod to Strider myself.
I don't even know. They're both so good. This is ridiculous. I just looked at Harris. I'm not even answering because last time I answered, I flipped what I said the week before, and I don't want to do that again. And I think I said Harris last week.
No doubt Spencer Strider, end of story, move on. To the next week, it's Michael Harris.
Yeah, that's literally what's happening. So I'm not going to say anything. I do want to say that I believe Strider's one of, or if not the first pitcher ever to get 200 Ks before giving up 100 hits.
Oh,
that's
wow.
ridiculous.
He only gave up 86. He only has given up 86 hits.
Again, maybe this is my ignorance, and if so, please call me out on it. I had never heard of, and it's not like I am well versed in every team's, their prospect-ish roster and their rankings. But I do know, I feel like Major League roster or prospect watch. I had not heard of Spencer Strider as being this top guy. He has not only been incredible, he's sort of saved Ian Anderson has not been great. They've had injuries to their pitching staff. What he has done there, not only is he maybe going to win Rookie of the Year, he might win the team MVP, and that's with what Austin Riley is doing.
You want to know why you hadn't heard of him? He played 1 year in the minor leagues, and he played at all 4 levels.
Wow.
That's why
Caleb,
he's 23.
Was he a college draft pick, or is he had to be a college guy, right?
He is his first season when he was 22, so he was drafted in the 4th round out of Christian Academy of Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's a fucking dominant program.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
We should have known.
It's a junior college. It looks like it's a junior college.
Of Knoxville, Tennessee. Cocked.
How did he go 4th round? The dude was probably throwing 100 at that time still. I don't know. He's just got nasty stuff.
Could you imagine what he was doing to the Christian Academy from Gatlinburg, Tennessee? In those games, he was striking out 27 guys.
They had no chance.
Probably
none.
That's the guy I'm afraid of. When he pitches against the Cardinals, it's like watching middle schoolers face Roger Clemens in his prime. Carlos could not hit Spencer Strider at all. It's scary how good he is against us. No, apparently not. He's getting up 86 hits. And I just saw the stat, by the way. No pitcher has ever had 200 strikeouts without giving up 100 hits in a full season. I think Strider's going to have 2 or 3 more starts, so he can't give up 14 hits, and then he'll be the first to ever do it.
You know,
That's amazing.
Again, if you look around baseball, honestly, and we have been very critical of our drafting, development, whatever. But you could argue it's Dodgers, Braves, Cardinals as far as drafting and developing guys ready at the major league level. I mean, I think the Dodgers and the Braves kind of stay at their own level. If you look at what the Braves have done in the last 10 years, it's unbelievable what they've done.
think the Dodgers.
But you could also take that all the way back. And I know they traded for Maddox and they traded for Smoltz. I understand that. You know, when they were in single A, double A. Well, Maddox was at the big leagues, but Smoltz was like single A, double A guy. But I mean, what they have done, all three of those teams, organizations for years, and the Yankees, you have to throw them in there because what they did with Bernie and Jeter and Posada and Pettit and those guys, unbelievable. No. But they also have a freaking $200 and something million payroll. So if you look at what the Braves and Cardinals done, especially, it's pretty impressive.
To me, the Braves and the Dodgers are the pinnacle of baseball and what you should look up for. And the Braves are ahead of the Dodgers because they're just more realistic for most teams. Like the Dodgers' best players, their 3 best players. It wasn't hard for them to trade for Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, and sign Freddie Freeman. Those were not hard decisions.
Right.
But for the Mets, for the Braves, for what they did to extend even Harris now, but to extend Riley, to extend Acuna, Albies, all those guys for cheap. Huh? They didn't extend Grissom yet, have they?
Huh?
They didn't extend Von Grissom.
No, I'm just saying that's another guy that.
Yeah, that's another guy. Yeah, what I'm saying is they were able to extend these guys, guarantee them money, bring them all up, and keep them. And then they said, okay, we're going to lose our franchise player and just get Matt Olson and replace him. It's fine, no big deal. What they have done, it should be the model for every organization, because it's more attainable than what the Dodgers have done to spend $300 million and trade for superstars every year. But the Braves, they're so well run, it's incredible. Look at the 90s and their run of dominance in the 90s, and then look at now 30 years later and they're just as dominant. And in between that was, they had Chipper and Andrew Jones and all these guys. So they've done a great job. They're a great organization.
Thanks for Waino.
Yeah, they did trade Waino. Yep. And Juan Yepes.
Yeah, we got Yep too. So thank you, Atlanta.
Yeah, thanks, Atlanta. You suck.
Suckers. Just a few things around the league also, and then I'll let you guys, if you want to throw in here, just a few shout-outs. Framber Valdez, not nobody. That's a false. It seems like nobody's heard of Framber Valdez, but they should. 25 straight quality starts. That's unbelievable. That is literally, in this era, where you would think maybe he'd go 5 2/3 or 5 1/3. Or, hey, maybe give up 400 runs.
Right. No, especially in Houston, where that's a bandbox for right-handed hitters, and he's a left-handed pitcher. I don't know how he's done. He's incredible. I saw Chris Carpenter was on that list. He had 22 for the Cardinals in 06 or 07 or something like that. But that's incredible. He is so good. And if you don't know who Framber Valdez is, no offense if that's you, that's kind of your fault because he's been great in the postseason for 3 years. But that guy, he is so underappreciated. Him and Verlander are at the top of the 1-2, a 1-2 combination of rotation. They can match up with anybody in baseball as far as I'm concerned as a 1 and 2.
So a week ago tomorrow, so last Tuesday, I put a bet down on Framber Valdez for the AL Cy Young at 65-1. 2 days later, on Thursday, his odds were 10-1. Yeah. So
he might win. Let me look at this.
Verlander is still the favorite, and he came back and had a great outing, which hurt me a little bit on the bet. But then Valdez came back and had another quality start and a win. So he's at least in the conversation. So I feel good that I got a great price on it, and the fact that I'm going into the last 2 weeks live with something to root for, I'm pretty excited about that.
That's a quality bet. Plus 650 is a quality bet.
I just looked at the stats.
That was a good.
I looked at the Framber Valdez stats. That's where I started. And I was like, wow, these are incredible. Yes. He might win it. And then I looked at Verlander. He has no chance. Well, Verlander has a 1.7 ERA with a 0.9 WHIP. That guy's out of his mind.
The shot that he had was if Verlander came back and got hurt again, or came
blew
back
up.
not as effective. Struggled a couple times, but yeah, it's Verlander's to win as long as he goes out and pitches well the last couple starts. But
not to mention
you can't-
Verlander's been robbed multiple times of a Cy Young, so just give him this one, please. Like he should have won like two
Well-
other ones and got robbed.
Well, for the sake of my bankroll, I'm not ready to just say give it to Verlander.
Also, as impressive as that is, DeGrom 40 straight starts, 3 earned runs or less.
That's also impressive.
O'Neal
I
Cruz hit
don't
a
know,
3-run
I
bomb
don't
from
know where you
yesterday.
rank him. And Kim and I have had these discussions before, like just sitting down here watching TV. I don't know where to rank him in pitchers I've seen. Like I just don't, because when he pitches, and I know it's not all the time. I know he's had injury issues here and there. I don't think I've ever. I mean, he is Clemens like. That's who he reminds me of as far as dominance goes from the right-handed side.
It's a fair comparison. I mean, honestly, his stuff is better than Clemens, but it's a different era now. So, yeah, the only thing that's ever really been against him is his own health. That's it. I mean, when he's healthy, there's nobody like him.
The
Mets are going to be a fucking problem in the playoffs.
No, not.
Scherzer and DeGrom, that's a.
Okay, let's not pencil Scherzer, and that guy's been hurt for weeks now. Like
he's been injured too. But if he comes back and is Scherzer, then I mean, you're going to have a hard time finding a better 1-2 punch than those two guys.
You not only would you have a hard time, you would look forever because you won't find one. But
except maybe Verlander and Framber.
No. Neither of those guys can do what DeGrom can do in a game. Here's what I will say. Scherzer seems like he has an oblique problem that's about to go. Like it's getting very close to just being out for a year because his oblique's gone. Because he's trying to maintain it. And I hope he can because I love Max Scherzer. But it seems like that thing is just about ready to tear. So if he can avoid that, I do too, knock on wood. But if he can avoid that, then yes, I agree. But if one of those two goes down, I mean, you look at their lineup, it just doesn't stack up with the other three teams in the National League, I don't think.
Yeah, and with Marte out, that's another huge loss for them.
Injuries will be the thing that really hurts them if they're not able to make a long run in the postseason, I think.
Dude, they got Timmy fucking Trumpets. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you have to get the Timmy Trumpets.
One more thing I just want to get to, actually, too. What Aaron Judge, 59, Aaron Judge, he 10-point something war at this point. He's going to do it, right? Like, he's going to break. Yeah. So
that dude, he might have his eyes on Bonds.
I had to guess Caleb and Mike, both of you. Caleb, give me a number that you think he ends up at.
66.
Okay. Oh, okay.
No, that's too much. Sorry, 64. I'm going to go 64.
Okay.
That sounds good.
I'm going to say 67.
Okay.
Wow. So he has, 14 games left, so you think he's going to hit 8 more?
Yep.
That'd be incredible. I hope he does it. I hope he goes as high as he possibly can.
He was a big Aaron Judge fan. 110 to hit a home run the other night.
That's it? Plus one. That's like Connor McDavid goal bets. That's insane.
Like, plus 110. Like, normally if I don't usually bet home runs, but I want like 350.
Yeah,
275 maybe. It was like plus, that was in his stretch of what he hit, like 7 in 10 days or something like that. It was like it got down to plus 110. It could have been plus 120. I could have exaggerated. Either way, it was a number I'd never seen on a home run.
And at this point, you're like, man, plus money for Judge at a home run, that's a value.
Yeah, give me that.
I think he hit a home run that night, and I thought to myself, why didn't I put my entire bankroll on that and double it? Like,
Yeah, he's having one of the. It's just such a cool season to see what he's doing, and it keeps getting lost in MVP debates because I feel like you're very hard one way or the other. It's either Ohtani, you're all on that, and you can't be told otherwise, or it's Judge, and you're all on that, and you can't be told otherwise. My vote still goes to Ohtani, unless if Judge does not break the record. If he breaks it, I think you can give it to him. But I just think you should enjoy both of these seasons. They're both absurd what they're doing, and I just hope it doesn't get lost. I'm a huge Shohei Ohtani fan, and to me, he's the most valuable player in baseball every year if he continues doing what he's doing. But what Aaron Judge is doing right now needs to not be lost in the arguments of Twitter on whether Shohei should win it or he should win it, because
Just
it's
for a
more
little,
than an
for a
award.
little perspective, and then Mike, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Judge has a 10.4 WAR right now. Ohtani up to 8.6. The next closest is Goldie at 7.1. What those two guys are doing is pretty remarkable.
Can I also say something? Because WAR is like relative to the replacement level players.
Correct.
There's no replacement level Shohei Ohtani. So who are they comparing him to? Like
Right.
his WAR is just BS in my opinion. Like because it should be doubled. Whatever he's doing, double it.
You're right. Yeah. First you have to replace his wins as a pitcher, and then replace his wins as a hitter.
And then multiply it by 10, and you might be close to how valuable that guy is to a baseball team.
Right. Exactly.
Just the last thing I wanted to say, and we don't have to spend time. I don't really need any takes on this. Just another thing I thought was really, really cool. The Rays, first team ever to start all Latin players to honor Roberto Clemente. That's a class. Not surprised. Kevin Cash is classic. That's a class act, and I thought that was a really cool moment for Major League Baseball, but also for humanity at a time when sometimes we need it.
Absolutely. Yep. Kudos to him for that.
I love that. I love that. I love the fact that they have that many baseball players from Latin America on their team, that they didn't have to call anyone up to do that. They just had those guys there, and they're all really good players. I will say one thing about Roberto Clemente, because we didn't have a podcast on the day. One, look at the dude's story. He's one of the greatest humans to ever play professional sports. So that's one. Two, his number needs to be retired. I mean, it's almost too perfect. 21 is half of 42. Like, that just looks cool to me, like aesthetically. But there is not another player. He's, to me, would probably be second among the most impactful baseball players of all time, behind Jackie Robinson. You could argue that they're tied. I don't know why his number's not retired yet.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, I mean, you only have one in Major League Baseball.
Should be two.
Yeah, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying I think maybe baseball doesn't want to start a slippery slope there, but I don't think they are. Right,
I think with what Jackie Robinson did for African Americans, obviously we all know that. Roberto Clemente did the same thing for Latin American players. And there's big, if not a bigger part of our sport than any other, nationality outside of America. So I think he should be honored the same.
Okay, I agree.
I'm on board.
Yeah. And I think it's cool that Pittsburgh's right field wall is 21 feet tall too.
It's awesome. I love it.
That's some perspective there.
With Clemente Bridge right across the street.
Anything else that you guys want to talk about from around the league? Like I said, I was out of it for the last 4 days just because I had no service anywhere. And when I got back, we were exhausted. I usually went to bed or ate destroyed some pizza and then fell asleep. So that was my night. But anything else you guys want to hit around before we get to the power rankings?
I think everything's about set in stone, but I think the one thing that needs mentioning is the Guardians seem to have pulled away with their division.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of stayed the same from last week.
Tony's not coming back, right? Like, he's done.
I don't know what's going on there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't imagine he's coming back now.
Yeah, I would have a hard time seeing him come back. But you never know. Like, it is Jerry Krause, right? Like, you never know. Or Reinsdorf, which one is
Reinsdorf.
it? Reinsdorf.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. You never know. All right. You ready for let's do the power rankings? We'll do the giveaway. Mike can go watch Tennessee win, and then we get you out of here. So we got about 2 minutes. Is that good, Mike?
Good. Let's roll.
Awesome. Yeah, hurry it up.
And it's cool to get another take also on these power rankings. All right, we ready? Okay. So I have a big shakeup from last week.
No.
I know. I think you're going to be excited about it. Everybody out there in the land.
Oh, let's get to it, son.
All right. I had to build that up while I could pull it up on my phone.
Seems like you're having a stroke.
I know. 10 are the Padres. Again, we have talked in the last 3 weeks. I don't really like putting anybody at 10. It's either the Phillies or the Padres, probably. I don't really like either of them, if we're going to be honest, as far as being a powerful team. But you got to rank them, and they have to fall somewhere. So I'm putting the Padres at number 10.
You just said that about the two teams the Cardinals are. One of the two the Cardinals are going to face in the playoffs, and now you're just making it to where you're going to bite us in the ass. Why did you do that?
I really
Thanks
do
for the
respect
jinx,
the
Mike.
amount of
Appreciate
power
it.
you think I have.
God, I hate you. Just next one. I don't want to talk about them.
Number 9 and a sharp drop are the Mariners. They've really struggled lately.
Yeah, I really like their pitching, and I like what they're going to be able to do with it in the postseason. But yeah, they've had a little bit of a tough stretch. I think they'll be fine.
They're winning 9-1 right now, by the way, as I look over my shoulder.
Yeah, of course. So there's your power that you have. You just did that.
Mike, anything on the Padres or the Mariners?
No, I'm with Caleb. Thanks for the big jinx. Appreciate that.
Anytime. I think it was the opposite. I think I put the good juju on the Cardinals right there.
That's not.
All
no,
right.
you didn't.
All right. Number 8 are the Rays. Like every year, right? They're there. They're playing middle baseball. Right? Where they 5-5 or 6-4 in their last 10. They're not killing it, but they're the Rays. And again, we know that somehow they're going to find a way to be dangerous in the playoffs. That's all I know.
No one knows how, but they'll be good.
No, agreed. 7, the Guardians.
Wow.
Yeah, D, that's for you, buddy. They 8-2. They're running away with the Central. Finally, a team broke loose. I do not agree that Stephen Kwan should be the Rookie of the Year in the American League.
No.
However, I do think that team is dangerous because depending on who they match up against, whether it's probably would it be the Rays? Who will they match up against?
Whoever
Rays,
the 6 seed
Mariners,
is.
Blue Jays, probably right.
Probably the Blue Jays or the Rays, I would think.
Yeah. With Bieber, with McKenzie, with the way Quantrill's thrown, and then you got Clase at the end of and then you always have Jose Ramirez in the middle.
And James Karinchak's been really good.
I really do. Do what?
James Karinchak's been really good in the bullpen
Correct.
too. He got that head rub from the umpire. I don't want to talk about that though, because I don't know what to say about it. But they're a good team. I'd have a hard time ranking them above the Mariners personally, but yeah, I mean they're playing really well right now, so you can't really argue with it too much.
All right.
Yeah, right now they are slated to play the Rays in the 3-6 as it stands today.
There might be 3 runs scored in those 3 games.
2-1 games every night.
It might be 1-0 each game.
Oh, there you could be.
And Jose Ramirez is going to have 3 home runs.
Coming in at number 6 are the Blue Jays. It seems like maybe they've finally gotten together. Like, I don't know. I still don't trust their pitching in the playoffs. I just don't.
I don't trust any part of
Kevin
their team.
Gausman. I think that the loss of Robbie Ray really hurts them. Ryu's injury obviously has been a big thing. Oh my God, why did I lose his name? Who's their closer?
Jordan Romero.
Jordan Romero. Yeah, I was gonna say JoJo, but we have him. I just don't. I don't trust their pitching, but that offense is so dangerous.
Jordan Romano. Sorry.
Romano. There you go.
Yeah, Bo Bichette's been was that you knew if he got going, the team was going to take a step forward, and he's finally gotten going. So good for them. They're not a team I think anyone would want to play in the postseason, but I just don't know if I trust that their team's going to be, I don't know, cohesive enough to go as far as they think they might be able to.
Right, Mike. Anything on the Jays?
They're fun to watch. That's all I can say about them. They're fun to watch, and I hope they do well. I've always kind of been a closet Blue Jays fan.
Same.
as my AL team. So
I really hope we don't play them in the World Series because that would be a disaster.
I would love to play them in the World Series because that would mean we're in the World Series.
It would mean Nolan and Goldie weren't not playing in our World Series games, and I would cry.
Oh well, we'll see how that goes. I don't know.
I don't want that shitstorm.
Are we
100%
sure that's still going to be the case? I don't know.
No,
that would suck.
We know nothing about anything when it comes to that.
All I'm saying is I want to avoid that storyline at all costs.
That's all I know.
I just want to avoid that storyline
because logic's gone. So I don't say anything.
I just want to avoid the storyline. I don't want to hear about it ever again. I don't want it to happen.
Top 5 is still the same for me, and you guys can hit on this if you want, but it's Cardinals, Braves, Mets, Astros, Dodgers. Like that's not, to me, I don't see that changing unless something drastic happens and one of those teams goes on an 0-10 stretch, which I don't see happening either. I think those are the 5 best teams in baseball. I do believe the 5 right behind them are very dangerous and very good. And like I said, I think the Guardians are incredibly dangerous because of their pitching and their bullpen. They're not gonna outslug anybody, but they find ways to win, and they've proven that going 8-2 in their last 10. But the top 5 are the top 5 to me. I don't know. I mean,
the only way it can change
the Braves and the Mets, you can. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I think the Mets are better than the Braves right now. They're leading the Braves. They're playing. I'm just saying right now, when you look at the standings, right? If you take subjectivity out of it, the numbers say right now the Mets are better.
The Mets have a better record, but I don't think they're as good of a team as the Braves. But I would still rank the Mets. Whoever wins the East will be 3, and the other one will be 4. That's where it's going to be. So until the Braves pass them, if that were to happen, then I'd just keep it the same.
All right. So we're happy on that.
Yeah. We're good.
All right. Last thing. We got one last thing. Hold on. I fixed the case. The Whitey Herzog ball we're giving away. And since we have a guest on here, since it's Mike, I've got my list of guys, and I've got thank you, Google, also. once again for giving me a nice little thing that I didn't have to put any thought into. I just put the names in. It spit out a random order number. So, Mike, what I need you to do is simply choose a number between 1 and 12, and I will give you the winner.
All right, sounds good. Lucky number 2. That's my number.
Lucky number
I'm rolling with 2.
Is at Bruce_epic. Our guy Bruce Heller is the winner of the Whitey Herzog Twitter giveaway.
You know what? The amount of times he commented on that, he deserves it.
Yeah, he does. He does. I agree. This was kind of cool to do. Also, we got a lot of retweets on this and a lot of shares, which was really cool. Thank you for that, by the way. For people who are paying attention, who are playing along. Next week, we'll have a week-long when we're going to do a Facebook giveaway of another 1982 Hall of Fame signed baseball.
Awesome.
Yeah. So shout out, Bruce.
Sounds good.
I'll be in contact, buddy. I know you listen, and I know you watch, and I know you're actively interacting with Caleb and I and all of us on Twitter. So that's awesome. No better place for the Whitey Herzog signed ball to go than to you. My brother, we can't thank you enough for tuning in or for coming on and helping us. And we love to have you on. We'd love to have you on more if you're available. I know life is busy for you. You got kids going everywhere. You're up jumping around at Camp Randall. You're at the Hall of Fame. You're eating wraps in Cincinnati. I don't know.
It's been a great year for the bucket list, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
Love it. Every time you're on here, brother, I love it. Good luck to the Titans tonight. I won't tell you that I have the Bills -10.
Okay, well, I wouldn't bet against that, but I'm still going to be hopeful.
Hey, good luck, buddy. It was great having you, man.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks, Caleb. See you guys.
See you, buddy. To the rest of you, thank you so much, as always, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. You guys are the absolute best. Anything else you wanted to say before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. I got to pee really bad, though.
Oh, all right.
That's all I got.
I think we got through a lot of good stuff today. That was awesome. Well done. We got the Padres, Cardinals coming up. Tune in to Late Night Baseball. Day off today. I think they could probably use that. They're probably eating some killer tacos or something there in San Diego or at a great steakhouse, one or the other. Again, be on the lookout for the Facebook giveaway. We will announce it next week and start it. We're going to run it the last week of the season and going into the playoffs. Caleb's home this weekend. Excited to have him back home. And we will be right back with you next week. Go Cardinals again. 6 big games. Everybody take care of each other. Stay safe. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.